Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you, wherever you are. Welcome to class. This is a quick lecture on chapter 4, all about research. Let me bring up our PowerPoint here and we can start our time together. Thank you for your participation in the discussion boards and taking a look at the quizzes and if you haven't had a chance, take a look at our assignments that are coming up. I think that they're open for you to take a look at and maybe start thinking about. Anyway, Dr. Hess here with Abnormal Psychology, Chapter 4. Let us start. So in our research, again, our working definition of psychology is the scientific study of human thought and behavior. So this is the emphasis on that scientific part. We use a scientific method in our research. We do case studies where we're looking at one particular person in detail. We have some correlation studies, some epidemiologically studies, and some experimental studies. Most of this will be familiar to a lot of you because the research studies that we do in psychology are very similar to things that are done in medicine or other areas. So let's keep going here. Again, the scientific method is kind of just an experiment, coming up with a question and looking to different ways that we can see if we can answer that question. Most of our research in the history of psychology research had some ethical problems where people were harmed in the research, and I'm talking about going back now maybe 100 years or 50 years ago. And since then, we have come up with a set of ethical rules and regulations that most, if not all, scientific researchers in the area of psychology adhere to. These rules are often regulated by institutional review boards, IRBs, that take a look at scientific psychological studies before they happen, and then they are approved by a panel of professionals. And since we're studying humans, it's important that the people in our studies, the subjects in our study, understand what we're studying and what we're after. We want them to know that the study will be confidential as far as any of their personal health data. And they have the right to refuse or withdraw from participation at any time. They are most often sign an informed consent agreement with the researchers and are debriefed after the study to make sure that they understand and were not harmed by the study. Let's keep a look at it. What we're looking at in case studies is individual people who we have studied in detail, and hopefully that by studying someone who has maybe post-traumatic stress disorder, we can share our treatments and our results from this one particular person, and it might be able to be generalized or used with other individuals. So there's case studies are not 100% generalizable, I guess, if that's a word. We can't always take one individual and say it's going to work for everyone, but there is a value in studying individuals. Correlation studies are usually what we're after. We're looking for, if we see one thing, do we see another thing? Are there a correlation between the two? And we have to remember that correlation is not causation. In other words, because we see the two things together doesn't necessarily mean that one thing caused the other. Let's see, let's keep going. There's some math. in here. If you're interested in math, there's a lot of statistical information in our textbook. I'm going to pass it by. A sample is basically just a group of people of the population we're studying that we think best will give us the best results, so that we can generalize it across all the population. So we don't want to say, if we're studying students at PCC, we wouldn't want to just study all of the males at Rock Creek or all the females at Southeast. We would want to have a combination of different campuses and different genders and different ethnicities, to kind of match our student population at PCC, so that we can say then, from the results of our study, that we can maybe understand the question that we're trying to answer and generalize it across all students. Let's keep going here. Most of us are familiar with epidemiological studies. They are what has been happening with our pandemic. We've been looking for people who are vaccinated or not vaccinated and finding out, that's one example of a study, and what is the result. That's basically what we're looking at. Large portions of the population either receiving a treatment or not receiving a treatment, or different treatments. Let's see here. I'm going to go past these. Oh, let's go back here. Sorry. According to kind of the scientific standards of this area, we want to, if possible, do a double-blind study. A double-blind study is basically that where the participants and the researchers do not know who's receiving the treatment and who's not receiving the treatment. Double-blind is important because we found out that if the researchers know who's receiving the true treatment, they treat those people differently than they treat the people that are, say, getting the placebo or the sugar pill. So double-blind is what we were really looking for. Let's keep going. There's some, let's see. As far as therapy outcomes, we're looking at, does the patient or the client feel that they have had an effective treatment at the end of treatment, or also, and not or, but also we're looking at whether the clinician feels like the patient has had an effective treatment. We can also, if possible, reach out to the family members or the people in the patient support group and see if they think that the treatment has been helpful for them too. So we're looking for as much information about that to see how effective our treatments were in therapy, say in talk therapy or in medical treatments. Let's keep going here. A lot of our research has been done with animals, especially when it comes to kind of the neurological or the brain research that was done early. A lot of rat studies, and of course there is quite a bit of ethical concern about studies on animals, and so we're really not doing that much anymore, but we still at times will use animals when we can. Well, let's see, genetic studies, where we're basically looking at the family histories and the different people of things, say like in bipolar, is found that it runs in families. And so we're looking for maybe doing a family tree of the mental health issues, going back as far as we can to see if we can find depression or bipolar in their history. Let's see, twin studies are important, obviously, because of the twins have the same genetic, maternal twins have the same genetic material, and we want to look and see how much of their mental illness or disorder comes from nature, genetics, or nurture, how they were raised. Let's see. It's important that we do cross-cultural studies. In other words, is this disorder common amongst all cultures or just certain cultures, and what that might tell us about this. Meta-analysis is very helpful. If you can, when you're doing your research, if you can find a meta-analysis journal article. Meta-analysis is basically just a person has gone through and taken a look at all the research that they can find on a particular subject, say the appearance of depression amongst a particular people group. And then they summarize all of those journal articles in another journal article and cite all of the original journal articles. And it saves a lot of time and gives you a good picture of what the research is up until now. So meta-analysis or meta-studies are kind of important. And we are finished. Let me get back to you. There we go. That was a quick look at chapter 4. And hang in there. Everything's going well. If you're having any problems, make sure just to drop me an email and let me know. And otherwise, have a great day. Bye for now.